the next session which we will be having is talking a lot about energizing and optimizing the infrastructure for the cooperative banks. Now, what is happening in the cooperative banking sector today? One of the most important thing is everyone cannot afford to have the right kind of resources and people. So we have always been struggling when it comes to finding the right kind of people, especially in technology. And one of the key things is how to remotely manage the technology. And cloud became a very, very big initiative for cooperative banks. Okay. Now, I was just talking to some bankers recently, and I asked them what is happening in the area of cloud. So, 2-3 important aspects came into picture. The first aspect was you have cloud, but security on the cloud and optimization of the cloud is the most important aspect. Okay? The second thing that came into picture is how can you make it financially viable to run a cloud. Now, cloud financing is becoming a very big initiative because while taking cloud, everyone sees a low cost and gets into the cloud. Then they forget the objective that you have to also start initiating sound financial practices to keep your costs at the right levels. Otherwise, at times you start using the cloud so much. It is like Gmail is giving you free web space. You start loading your photos first, then you start loading the neighbors' photos, then you start loading your company's logos, and then Google says, now you upgrade your memory. Okay? Then, or your Apple Cloud says, then you come at 250 rupees per month package. Then you come at 500 rupees per month package. And you suddenly start losing control on the costs. How do you optimize your cost in the cloud? And there are a lot of interesting strategies that technology vendors have put into place, how to optimize the cost on cloud. Otherwise, it will be more expensive than having your own infrastructure. Okay. The second thing is about security, how you can do things related to security. So some of these interesting questions, queries, and thoughts is something that we are going to discuss in this short panel. I am requesting Mr. Satish Utekar, who is the former CEO of TJSB Bank and a noted consultant to several banks, including Board of Management of Rajkot's Nagrik Sahkari Bank, the former advisor to Gopinath Parsik Cooperative Bank, and several other banks to join us in this session as a moderator. Satish ji, please welcome to this session. We have Mr. Ravi Kiran Mankikar, who is the former CIO of SVC Bank, an awarded CIO from the cooperative banking sector and a noted consultant again joining us. He himself also connects and advises at least 3 to 4 banks. We have Mr. Rakesh Dashora, IT officer, Chittorgarh Cooperative Bank. We have Mr. Harihar Deshpande, IT director of Sunfire. Mr. V. Babu, former DGM Technology of Bank of India and a noted consultant again with several cooperative banks all over the country. He is also in the board of NAPCOM's NABARD consulting for creating RFPs for DCCBs and several other cooperative banks. Mr. Gopinath Temkar will also join this panel as an IT expert. We are moving from the land to the cloud.
Thank you, Mr. Babu. Good evening. In fact, since morning we are discussing on a lot of issues, and which touch me more is the governance, what Mr. Devade was talking about, and the risk management session of Mr. Vikrant. And let us come to a subject about technology. For last 5-6 years, as a core hardcore banker, I was also into other fields like entertainment. It was all accidentally, I was in entertainment, then healthcare, and into construction also. And in all these sectors, I could find out there is a these are all sectors are technology driven, not only financial. Means entertainment, recently we launched one OTT platform. It's again technology. So after COVID, everybody wants to sit at home and watch the movies or other entertainment programs, web series and all. Then come to healthcare. Healthcare, except surgeries and all, everything is entertainment again. And all over the world, in fact, I was discussing with 2, 3 US companies. So they are working on the healthcare and it is all technology driven. And 2 days before I was discussing one of the company on construction, they say that one of the leading architect is doing a projects around 15 lakh square feet, 25 lakh square feet. And there is says that it's a totally paperless working. They work on a beam technology. And beam provides everything. Means on the construction side, there is no paper. Everybody is carrying a tab or either iPad, and there they are discussing on the construction work. In fact, the slogan was that the building is built before it's constructed. Like that is what the beam is talking about. So I personally feel technology is most important in our everyday life. And without technology, I think we cannot survive. We are into digital age. And World Bank already declared it as a digital revolution. So in digital revolution, we have gone through, we have seen green revolution, industrial revolution. This is a digital revolution. And everybody is, almost everyone, like not only the generation, but everyone is into, on internet. They are into social medias and then webs, going through a lot of webs and all. And they want everything on technology. Sitting at home, they will drive like this. So banking, what is the future of banking? I think every generation or everybody wants this open and transparent banking. They want the customer focus. They want cashless banking. So everything is digital. For digital services, I liked one sentence Mr. Ravi Kiran Mankikar mentioned during his risk management panel, is that we have to have a people, processor and technology. So for last 3, 4 years, I was in my presentation, making a presentation that everything in financial services also people, means HR is most important, then technology and everything is processes. Even lending is the processes. I was discussing with Mr. Deshpande about the digital financing and all. We agree that digital processes are most important. And for having digital processes, we need to have a good infrastructure, seamless and efficient infrastructure. Without that, we cannot survive. And Mr. Babu was talking about the cloud and all. Mr. Babu, in fact, during COVID, on virtual meeting, I mean, on an international panel, I was discussing about artificial intelligence. And then while deriving a theory, I could find out that when the artificial intelligence and cloud, everything is there in India, then we will have to have a separate team for disposing of the physical assets, like extra premises, like selling of the ATMs, and that may be a different task for the bankers. So instead of doing a financial services, one team will be only working on how to dispose of the physical assets and then making a financial gain out of it. So this is what I think the most important. 5, 6 months before I was in Germany. So it's a developed economy. And in Germany, in 2 months' time, I could find out that Germany is really far behind in India. India is far ahead of digital services, like payment settlement. You will agree that payment settlement is so poor in Germany or the European countries today that then after looking to this and their services, I called our NPCI chief and said that what we are doing in India, why not to provide services in Germany? We can sell our product to Europe and other countries. So advanced we are in digital services. But I think lot is required to be achieved. Customer wish list has to be fulfilled. So the important part is the infrastructure development. to infrastructure, what kind of infrastructure we have. So far as our sector is concerned, UCBs is concerned, we always look to the cost and building infrastructure, a lot of challenges. So my first question will go to Mr. Mankikar. Mr. Mankikar, what are the challenges we have in building up the infrastructure, cost and all, and what are the alternatives for that? How can UCBs can have a better, seamless and efficient infrastructure so that we meet our customer wish list? Like?
I think you set the tone of the conversation. There has been a drastic transformation in the way we are doing business. And similarly, the way we are using technology to drive our business. Now, when we are talking of technology, typically we will see that we are shifting away from branch-based computing to central-based computing. That is, we are moving towards a data center-centric way of doing things. Similarly, all the applications or all the software what we are using is also started getting centered around high computing requirements. That is, they require high memory, they require high storage, they require high processing capabilities, so on and so forth. So whenever we talk of infrastructure and we are talking of optimization, there are a couple of things which come to mind. And the basic factor which comes to mind is, just like in my earlier session, we said three things: people, processes, technology. Three things drive the infrastructure. One is compute, that is the computers, the servers. Second is cooling. And the third is power. Now, whenever we talk of infrastructure, people generally talk only of the servers and the compute. But the cooling and the power which goes towards it is generally ignored. Now, when we are talking of optimization, why are cooling and this required? Because the more heavy the compute becomes, the more heat is generated in the data center. And the moment more heat is generated in the data center, you are going to require that much adequate cooling to keep the servers cool. And the moment you start utilizing more of servers and more of the cooling equipment, you are going to consume more power. So automatically we'll find that whenever we are talking of an infrastructure setup, we need to have an ecosystem which caters to all these three things. The major challenge which comes here is the evolution in the technology, the evolution in the banking requirements, the shift which is happening from core banking to digital platform, and which necessitates that your infrastructure per se requires to be upgraded every time there is a change in the system, which is becoming very costly for the organization. And this is where we have to look at somewhere an optimal way of minimizing cost, increasing efficiency, and more importantly, keeping in tune with the changes which are happening with technology. Now, the biggest challenge which I foresee is a general perception with us cooperators कि सब कुछ हमारे पास होना चाहिए. That whenever we talk of outsourcing, they feel that it is dangerous and that we should have our own data center, we should have our own setup, we should have our own servers, etc., etc. And then when we talk of these three components, the fourth component is the manageability. Do we have the required skill sets which are required to manage all these things? So somewhere when we are talking of optimization and looking at cloud or outsourcing as an alternative, I think a serious thought needs to be given that there could be cost saving, there could be saving in resources, there could be optimization of efficiency. That is, you become more efficient because there is more scalability which you get when you go out on a cloud platform. So all these things per se, when we look at it at a macro level, will help organizations or banks to arrive at a conclusion in their resource planning.
These are the challenges need to be. Thank you, Mr. Mankikar. Mr. Babu, you are a banker and as well as more into technology.
Yeah.
I just would like to
I would like to
put a question to you.
No, it's okay.
How are we aligning its legacy infrastructure to the digital transformation technology?
First of all,
Which
welcome
kind
you
of
all.
tools we require?
I just want to add about what Mr. Satish Utekar was mentioning about the disposal of the existing old data, the computers. In one of the big banks, they disposed of so many computers and they replaced the computers. And the person who bought the computer took out the data and sent to the chairman. Then only they realized that they had to remove the data in the system first. They had to remove the entire data, whatever there, clean it, then after that you have to sell. So this is what I was mentioning. About the optimization, I have a feeling that there are three points are there. One is either on-premises, in-premises optimization of the data center, or for the cloud model, or for a hybrid model like on-premises you have some, and some other things, cloud model. In cloud model, what I feel is, I visited about, I think for NABARD and NABCONs, I have done about 60, 70 projects. Wherever I go, I find that nobody knows about what is cloud, but everybody wants to go for cloud. And the cloud also, it is not a cost of, it's you have to find out whether existing system, you have to do some kind of a audit, analyze, and what is the lacuna there, whether you should need additional equipments, etc. Then after that, you have to go for the additional optimization. In the cloud also, you have to see the vendor who is there. The vendor should be capable, whether he is capable of doing it, or either he is outsourcing to somebody else. That you have to find out. And also, you have to do some kind of whether necessary certifications are there with the vendors. In some of the cases, I find that they don't have any certification. They're all small vendors, but they are giving to some other vendors for as using the data center. So these are the things, some of the things cooperative banks should take into account.
In fact, 1 hour before I was discussing with Mr. Deshpande, I was really impressed with his whatever role they have played with State Bank of India. I'll just read their pamphlets, few of the lines, which are very important for us. The modern India. 1 minute. Modern India consists of 1.3 billion people. Now it is 1.4. People scattered across a large subcontinent. Half of the population is less than 30 years old. It's the most important point. The poor use cash for majority of transactions. They are often exploited and given counterfeit notes or intentionally underpaid also. So now we are talking about the cashless economy now. I just would like to know your role into State Bank of India, how they are integrating, how they are approaching people and extending services. So what kind of role your company is playing into this?
So, yeah, thank you so much. I think I'll speak for a larger use case instead of just going for one specific use case. One very important aspect that all of us have realized and seen is the young generation is there, and some of them have not even seen the old banking system that existed a few years back, right? So the young generation have aspirations, and most importantly, they are all digitally driven. What I mean by digitally driven is that whatever if you look at it, a 23 or a 24-year young professional who has just stepped out of education institute and now started earning money and has a bank account, the only banking that he has seen is the digital banking. He has not seen the banking that existed before this digital banking. So the aspiration of this young gentleman or a girl is driven towards someone who is meeting their aspirations. And this is what is being done by the modern age or the digital driven banking systems, right? So you have things like BNPL, which is buy now, pay later, or you have the quickest lending advertisement that I have seen on television is 5 minutes, right? And I have seen advertisement which is happening is a cop standing on the traffic signal and a person takes the insurance just 5 minutes before using a smartphone, a mobile smartphone. So this is what is being driven from a consumption perspective, and what is being driven by consumption perspective also needs to be provided by the financial service provider. Now, when I say all these things, there is a clear distinction that some of the, large and elite urban sector driven financial institutes are able to cope up with these technologies, are able to invest, and like some of my co-panelists said, it is not just about investment into a modern technology, it's also about, is the bank staff member skilled enough to deliver all these things? Is the policy of the bank open for outsourcing or not? And so many things, right? Whether you want to use cloud, whether you want to still remain in the regulatory framework of the central bank and still do all these things, and the security threat is constant at the back of your mind. So how do you navigate from all these things and still be able to do a great job, which is a customer-centric banking in a digital format, is where we feel that people like us come in. We help you create an agile platform. When I say agile platform, it is needed simply because the changes in technology are way too dynamic, consumer demands are way too dynamic, and you should be able to balance these things in the best possible way, keeping your cost low. Because increasing the cost is directly going to hit your bottom line. So how do you do all these things? I think there are ways and means to do it. Some of the approaches that we have taken is start small and grow big. Start small and grow big also is an outcome of having an agile platform, which means that you start with one small application, deliver it to your consumer, experience how it works on, see what's the ROI for your bank, and then slowly, gradually start deploying more and more applications, more and more use cases. And your infrastructure should be flexible and elastic enough to keep accommodating these changes as and when you need it, right? And it is not just about scaling, it is also scaling out, it is also about scaling in, right? There could be situations where certain applications are becoming old, they are not getting consumed. You should be able to quickly shrink them down so as to optimize your cost. And this is what essentially we are doing, not just with the large private sector and public sector banks, but we would also want these things to come to the cooperative sector, which is one of the largest, banking environment, does a huge financial inclusion from a rural and semi-urban, population standpoint. And the digital divide is getting blurred. The consumers in the rural sector are matching up to the same thing that is there in the urban sector. And the way we are working is providing them an agile infrastructure platform based on award-winning technology called Hypervisor, which is from VMware. We represent them. We work with some of the leading institutes like VMware to build the entire application environment, which can scale up and down. And like Mr. Babu said, it can exist on private cloud, in your own environment, on premise. It can go on a public cloud infrastructure as and when you need it. And it should also be able to come back, right, when you don't need it. So all these things are being done from our side. And of course, security, business continuity, disaster recovery, all the regulatory requirements are also being met with some of our services and solutions that we provide.
I think now, because of technology and cloud services, cooperative sector, UCBs also can have a leverage or have a competition with the big banks also.
Absolutely.
It is not only, I think, Mr. Suhas, for you also, Infosys, that today you made a presentation to our UCB sector also.
Yeah.
That means you realize that we have an important role to play. Okay.
And
I come to you about the cloud we are discussing about. So how to optimize the cloud services, how to scale it, and then the security wise also. So now earlier panel we were discussing about reducing the profitability. Now how can reduce the cost of transaction, because I cannot increase my net interest margin. So can reduce the administrative cost or the cost of transaction. How can you help us?
Yeah, when it comes to the cloud solutions, talking about. See, what is happening is many of the cooperative banks, as Ravi Kiran said, they wanted to host everything in-house. Say, hosting everything in-house and that infrastructure and optimizing, it is an opposite kind of a things for cooperative banks. What is happening is infrastructure optimization in the sense of people, in the sense of process. These are all the two things it is lagging in urban cooperative banks, where they just adopt the technology, but there is no people to handle it properly, and there is no process to monitor it. So these are all the lagging things. When it comes to the cloud, actually in our bank we also did the same thing. Initially we hosted the data center in our bank only. Then we thought, when we adopted all the 24/7 solutions, we thought it is not difficult to manage rather than outsourcing it. So what we did is we outsourced some of this, these resources to the cloud and maintained some critical servers in our premises only. So this has brought into the picture of a hybrid cloud solution, where it has helped us to give an optimal solution to the customers, because whenever the issues are happening beyond banking hours, we can depend on some technology service provider where he is providing us the better solution, and we can concentrate on our core business. We can concentrate on core business and go ahead with the giving a services to the customer where he will be happy and come back to the bank. That is the where the banking is, cooperative banks are lagging behind, because sometimes if, one thing I just want to say, when it comes to the services, cooperative banks are better than any other banks. Cooperative banks are better than any other banks because they can reach the bank over the phone call, their problems can be solved. But when you go to the other banks, commercial banks or public sector banks, I don't want to blame them because their size. What will happen, when you put a mail, they will send a reply telling that within the 48 hours we will reach back to you. Customer in a need, in a hurry, he has to wait for 48 hours just to give receive the reply. When it comes to the cooperative banks, even the management is also reachable, or staff is also reachable. They can give a better service. When they adopt the technology, it will be an added advantage for the cooperative bank, where they can easily give a competition in this kind of a open world competition, where the RBI has placing all the cooperative banks in the level field. They can become a better banker than any other banks. That is what I said.
Great. Mr. Devule, your initial talk, I was really much worried about the governance in the corporate sector. I was discussing with Ravi while we were on airport. Mr. Ravi, just IT seamless infrastructure, how can it help us to make a good governance or give a information?
See, hyper-converged is more related to where we use one setup for everything. So that storage, the compute, everything comes in one. Now, though it tries to minimize the cost, it requires a bit of skill sets to manage it. So we need to have a considered decision on when we move towards hyper-converged technology. Now, one of the since we are on the topic, one thing which struck me while the discussion was going on was whenever we are going for cloud adoption, one basic misunderstanding which is there with most of us is that we get everything from the cloud service provider. Okay. Now, it should be kept in mind that it is like going to a hotel and having a menu. You will get only what you have ordered for. They may be having n number of services, but unless you subscribe to those services, you don't get it. So whenever you get into a contract with any cloud service provider or any such provision where it could be either on a hosted model or on a co-location model or on whatever model in which you are going to use the services, be specific as to what is your requirement and ensure that that is entered into the SLA. Because in many of the cases, the assumption that we are getting everything, you may not be getting it when you want it. And then when you ask for it, you have to charge extra or you are charged extra. Now, again coming back to the hyper-converged technology. See, basically it is like in a box. So you have one setup and everything happens. Now the challenge here is when you're having multiple applications which may not work on that box. So in those cases, you will have to have different setups to operate those things. So we have to be careful again on what is the applications which you are going to run on that box, and then choose the technology appropriately.
Mr. Dashora, yes, we are discussing about IT infrastructure and all. So now customer wish list, we have talked about customer focused banking and all. Customer wish list is that I should get services, particularly payment services, transaction services, at a very low cost but secured one. So, and what are the threats you feel and how the security can be imposed on the customer there?
सर एक्चुअली क्या सर आज के जो अधिकतर कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स हैं ना वो ग्लोबल नेटवर्क इन्वायरमेंट में काम कर रहे हैं सर, और हमने जो नई नई टेक्नोलॉजीज जो एडप्ट की है सर, तो उससे हमारा रिस्क भी थोड़ा सा बढ़ गया है. पर हम अगर इन रिस्क को सर काफ़ी कम कर सकते हैं अगर हम जो साइबर सिक्योरिटी की जो बेसिक्स रूल्स रेगुलेशंस हैं उनको अच्छे से फॉलो करें, और जो RBI की सर जो अलर्ट और एडवाइजरी है ना सर, उनको टाइम से टाइम हम अगर इम्प्लीमेंट करें तो काफ़ी हद तक हम इन रिस्क को काफ़ी कम कर सकते हैं सर. और जो सिक्योरिटी को भी अच्छे से हम अगर इम्प्लीमेंट करें तो काफ़ी हद तक हम जो इनसे होने वाले रिस्क जो फ्रॉड्स हैं सर उनसे हम बच सकते हैं सर.
तो मॉर्निंग में जब मराठी साहब का लेक्चर चालू था तो दैट टाइम ही मेंशन दैट नियरली 15 crore transactions are happening, that
Yes, sir.
RBI is also coming out with various apps and all. So this is I think most important. Mobile, everything is on mobile devices. So जो हमारी पाम में जो है, जो पूरा टेक्नोलॉजी पाम में आना चाहिए. मेरा बैंक मेरे हाथ में है, ऐसा जो लोग बोलते हैं, तो वो हम लोग सिक्योरिटी और तो कंफर्ट लेवल कस्टमर को कैसे दे सकते हैं?
सर वो अगर हमने जो भी उसके फ्यूचर्स के बारे में अगर अच्छे से कस्टमर्स को गाइड्स करें, अच्छे से उसके जो भी लूज पॉइंट है उसको अच्छे से हम बताएं, तो वो काफ़ी हद तक उससे बच सकता है सर. जो भी उससे होने वाले, क्योंकि एक्चुअली जो हो रहा है सर उसी से हम कुछ सीख सकते हैं सर. जो हो चुका है उसको हम अगर अच्छे से फिर से वो चीज़ ना हो पाए, उसको हमें कस्टमर को अवेयरनेस करना पड़ेगा, तभी हम जो हो चुका है उससे सर हम बच सकते हैं सर. वो फिर से रिपीट ना हो उसका.
तो कस्टमर अवेयरनेस एंड द स्टाफ अवेयरनेस ऑल्सो मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट.
वो तो है ही सर.
Many of the times, my experience goes that the staff is not aware of what is the provided also.
How we can
Because I'm consultant to one of the big banks. The size is around 20,000 crores. When I visited to their entire team, so my experience is that many of the staff are now aware what is available in the technology.
Yes sir, right.
So I think,
Staff must.
so Mr. Babu, as a banker, I'm just putting question to you and you also. To optimize the infrastructure or make a seamless banking through technology, whether BPR processes are required and what kind of BPR processes are required, I mean, to what level we should reach?
See, why the banks are going for cloud? Because they don't have the people, experienced people. Not only experience, they should upgrade the knowledge. And most of the cooperative banks have got say about 10 branches are there. They don't have staff also to take care. So they consider for the cloud. In cloud also, and one more thing actually, you might have seen the paper about the apps actually. I saw that many of the cooperative banks are going for apps. And apps is actually, you might have seen about Bank of Baroda issue, what is going on. And apps also, what is the sanctity, what is the security, what testing you have done. How many frauds can take place in apps? Everybody started with apps only. So about your question actually, people is the most important thing. And most of the cyber frauds, 75%, because I am a cyber person, say 75% of the frauds are happening only from inside. I know.
Ravi mentioned in the earlier session also that processes, we should have a processes. Most difficult to handle people.
I see that policies and the process, documentation is more important. But documentations are kept as it is only for the audit purpose. There are so many manuals are there, RBI wants so many manuals. Everybody has got the manuals, as somebody was mentioning, they just copy and they don't go for the process what they are having actually. The bank may be in a rural place, they may be going for something in the city, what is they having. That's a problem actually. They should do a study. And before going for any optimization, they should have a proper study asking for, giving to some specialist to study the system and find out whether there is a need for an optimization or the existing infrastructure is enough for this. Because it may not be the problem of the infrastructure, it may be the processes inside the bank, as he was mentioning, as Satish Utekar was rightly mentioning. Maybe these are the few things I just wanted to mention.
I think because whatever as a banker I was reading about, that I can have a technology, but using technology is different. I can have a best infrastructure or the applications also. And what worldwide it is said that 80% staff should be in the marketing field or on the operation side, and 20% should be at the back end to handle everything, the processes, because technology is everywhere. So how do we do for banking, we can say business process engineering, whether that plays a major role in optimizing the infrastructure?
Yeah. As we discussed in the last session also, see their business plan, which is most important. See, in the business plan, the banks usually they will define that we will reach this goal in loans and deposits and other things, but they never talk about and what kind of a process they will adopt or what kind of technology they are going to adopt and how they are going to increase this business plan and how they are going to increase their business with respect to the acquiring a customer or retaining a customer or cross-selling the customers. Now, on October 4th, RBI has come out with one, they have mooted this discussion. It is a provision on expected credit loss. So that kind of a things where now the bank is thinking about, now the bank is what they are doing is when it comes to loans, when it becomes a NPA, they are making a provisions. Now RBI is mooting a discussion telling that if you are forcing it, something is there in the loan which is going to be an NPA, expected failures. So based on that also the provision should be made. So these are all the things which when the regulator is making it compulsory, most probably it will come to the cooperative banks very later stage. But the thing is there the technology plays very vital role in identifying those kind of things. So here the technology adaptation and as Babu said, a staff who is handling or the bankers who are managing it, they should be trained in a proper way with the kind of a consultants or some kind of a seniors or some kind of a bigger banks what they have done. Then they have to adapt it into their own area of operations. See, what will happen? See, if bigger banks are adopting, say SVC Bank or Cosmos Bank or some of the banks is adopting some policies, it may not be say that it will be easily they can adopt it in some other bank. So banks are having their own regional issues, banks are having their own regional strengths, they are having regional weakness. So based on that, they should change that process and adapt it and train the persons so that they can easily make it improve. And as you said, many of the times, customers are well versed rather than the staff. Staff, they say, we don't know exactly, we have to approach the IT team, even a bigger banks also something. Sometimes when you give a complaint, they'll say, we will pass on to the IT team and they will identify it and they come back to you. So they should made aware about these things so that this kind of problems can be reduced. Yeah.
Another thing actually, most of the security policies are there. And all are applicable, all policies are not applicable to all the staff members. They should percolate in a micro level for the desk who is handling the front desk. He should know some of the things. And like that, there should be some kind of the policies have to be partitioned in such a way that is whatever applicable they should know. Otherwise you give them 10 policies, ask him to read, it's of no use.
Mr. Deshpande, morning Mr. Jodi was mentioning about the Reserve Bank of India, because of the governance and all, they are insisting about cooperative banks to convert themselves into small finance bank. Instead, when we were discussing, you said that semi-urban and rural, every last mile we can reach through a technology. So is it necessary we should convert ourselves to small finance banks or optimize our technology and satisfy the customer? So what do you feel?
My personal opinion here is what is best in the best interest of your customer and your bank, you should adopt. From a perspective that can technology really drive this? The answer is yes. I'll give you a couple of small examples. With the proliferation of this internet and 4G and 5G based internet access on mobile phone and smartphone adoption, I think banks have already reached where traditionally they were not present. Even though you have no intent to be present in a particular region, you may be having your customers already exist there and they're doing banking with you, right? So with the help of technology, you are already reached the places where you were earlier not present. So point number one. Point number two, every bank would have a intention and aspiration to cover as much region or as many customer bases possible, right? Again, technology will come to help you from a perspective that you have the e-commerce related initiatives taking place. You have various ways in which you are trying to reach end customers. Technology will become a platform for you to adopt these customer base. Example, you start with your lending scheme, which is very, very attractive for certain segment of customer, which need not necessarily be part of your territory. They may be present in your territory, they may be present outside. And with the social media, with the marketing that is happening right now, you can still be able to service those customers. Another very important area that we see is the whole concept of loyalty from a service provider perspective is becoming diluted, is what I would perhaps say, right? So my words may not be really nice for all of you to your ears, but the point is, if you are not in a position to provide the financial services that your customer is demanding or expecting, it is very simple that someone else will do that. So adopting technology and doing things would be the better way of retaining your customer and growing your customer, both ways. A small example I would give is the FASTag movement that happened couple of years back. Because one fine day, somebody in the ministry said that all the toll nakas are going to be FASTag enabled. There was a huge resistance initially that people didn't wanted to put those stickers on their cars. They were used to waiting in the queue. But as and when they realized the benefit of having the FASTag, they started adopting it. Now, this was a need of the customer, which was addressed by technology, but not by all the banking institutions. Only few institutions who had the ability to quickly integrate the FASTag API into their system and make sure that the financial transaction take place in whatever 30 seconds or 50 seconds on the toll booth, were able to attract customers from a traditional bank who did not provide these services. And on top of it, if you look at it, the way I have seen this as a customer and as a service provider to the bank, is there were only handful of banks who extended the FASTag services in the early period, and a lot of customers that they attracted were not their traditional customers. They were from other banks who didn't have this service. And all of these banks expected that their customers will keep a minimum of 500 rupees in their FASTag account, which was not attracting any interest. And what happened eventually is, if you have, say, 10 lakh customers keeping 500 rupees without interest in your account, that's the working capital that you get easily to take things forward. Now, whatever is the small technology investment that the bank did to adopt FASTag, that is 10 times recovered with the money, the pool that they have with them now with this technology. So, while I am often an advocate of looking at optimization and right sizing things, at times I am also of an advocate that banks should look at the big picture. If a bank is concerned and conservative about investing into a fast-tech technology, they'll miss out on a big opportunity that is available to them by way of attracting additional customer and getting a pool of money. So banks must consider right investments in the technology at the right scale at the right time, and should not hesitate from deploying technology. And there will always be this conversation that whether we need it or we don't need it. I think the answer is whether my customer needs it or not.
I agree, Mr. Deshpande.
One aspect which I wanted to say, see, we spoke of optimization, we spoke of business process re-engineering, but we also need to consider resiliency. That is, in case it fails, how quick we are to go to the DR site or the BCP. So somewhere when we are looking at this optimization, we also need to look at the resiliency factor also. And that in overall context, the response time to which we go to the DR site and achieve whatever we were earlier getting it from the DC site, that also needs to be factored in.
Mr. Mankikar, relating to this only, I would like to, how to manage these all resources. That is the challenge, I think.
See, this typically is any CIO's nightmare, because whenever we are talking of technology, unfortunately technology has become quite segmented. Okay, so we have the networks, we have the perimeter, we have the security, we have the endpoints, we have the database. So each one has a specialist. And that is where, I mean, earlier when we came, we were discussing that the question is whether to do it ourselves or whether to outsource it. And if it is to be outsourced, then we have to have appropriate SLAs in place, appropriate NDAs in place to ensure that there is no data leakage, there is no misappropriation of the technology resources. And yes, as a cooperative bank, maybe we cannot afford to have all those kind of resources. So there we need to look at a good partner who will support us in this venture.
Mr. Deshpande, one more question to you also. We are talking a lot about the cloud and all. So which are the areas we should go for cloud? Which are the areas we should not go? What are the limitations?
I think I'll just take the point Mr. Mankikar said. You should have a good partner, and I can sitting here can tell you that you can definitely talk to us and evaluate us. But coming to the point that you said, what is to be taken on cloud and what should be kept? I think there are no set rules for this, first of all. Okay, so whatever I am saying is from the experience that I have gathered and the perspective. Couple of important things. Databases are not right candidates to be taken up on cloud for a simple reason, because we are working under a particular regulatory framework, right? Although it is data sovereignty and many other things are coming, I think we still would want to keep that with us. And it is not about banks, it is also in the private sector enterprises. I'm not talking about financial services at all. I'm talking about non-regulated industries are also following it, right? For all the good reasons that are known to us. Second very important thing is all the applications that are required in-house, within the bank, at the back office and all those things, is not necessary that you should put it on cloud, because their consumption is restricted within the bank. The SLAs attached with that applications are well managed because it is used by internal people. Then what remains is the set of applications that are customer facing, the set of applications that are going to drive the revenue for the bank and are very sensitive from a profitability and growth perspective. I think these are the applications we should go on cloud, considering that there is a right sizing done, the right services which are analyzed, and like Mr. Mankikar said, it should be under a very, very strict SLA-driven, outcome-driven approach. Last but not the least, since we all talked about it, I will insist, although we are a cloud services provider and we are a cloud partner to this event, I will insist that whenever you are approaching any cloud-related workload deployment, please make sure that there is an exit clause, right? You wouldn't want to be in someone else's infrastructure and get locked over there, right? So you should always have the necessary flexibility and the contractual obligation in place, which allows you to come back or leave that cloud environment when you need it, or whenever the contractual obligations are not being met by the service provider. So these are the must, and you should not adopt any proprietary technology, because the moment you adopt a proprietary technology, it becomes very difficult to take an exit. And that is what, couple of suggestions and inputs from my side as far as cloud adoption is concerned.
So Dashora, a question to you as a banker. आपके लिए ऐसा है कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बहुत अच्छा है, सीमलेस है, सब कुछ है, ऑप्टिमाइज करना है उसको, तो उसके लिए अवेयरनेस टू द स्टाफ एंड अवेयरनेस टू द कस्टमर, ये कितना इंपॉर्टेंस रहता है? जो हम लोगों ने ये बात किया था, लेकिन आई थिंक यू शुड एलाबोरेट ऑन दैट.
डेफिनेटली सर, अवेयरनेस तो बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि अवेयरनेस है तभी वो अच्छे से किसी भी जो नई टेक्नोलॉजी है उसको यूज़ कर सकते हैं सर. अगर अवेयरनेस नहीं है, कुछ लीक पॉइंट है, तो उससे काफ़ी कुछ बड़ा नुकसान होने की संभावना रहती है. तो अवेयरनेस, कस्टमर्स को तो अवेयरनेस करना ही करना है सर. इवन सबसे पहले हम अगर अपने स्टाफ्स को अच्छे से अवेयरनेस करेंगे, तभी वो कस्टमर्स को भी आगे तक अवेयरनेस कर पाएगा सर. तो डेफिनेटली सर अवेयरनेस तो, और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी अगर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी अच्छे से है, तो सर उसका भी काफ़ी बेनिफिट कस्टमर्स और एम्प्लॉयज़ को मिलता ही है सर.
So we discuss about optimizing our infrastructure seamlessly, and we all agree that people, process and technology. So everything is processes, but very difficult to handle people and very easy to handle technology if the processes are known or business plan is known. So I'm very much thankful to all the learned panelists here, all experienced people. And I think the subject is so vast, we can have a deliberation for whole day. But still, I think there is some takeaway for you from this panel discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you.